never heard that, but that's the origin of CAP. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look.
There's a principle that
Right.
we have to follow.
Yeah.
We have to have.
Be true to yourself. You don't have.
And when I came back, the place was a mess. So I knew I was a mess.
Deep in here now. Now
It's
deep.
incredible. I love it.
Me
That's
too.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And applying the recovery, I thought.
Jesse Wasaki.
There
Hi,
we go.
everyone. I love our little intro, Jesse. I am Honesty Liller. I am the CEO of the McShin Foundation. This is Getting the Herd Recovery Podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love it. This podcast goes into 767 jails.
938 now.
Whoa, I got to
Wow.
start changing my
Awesome.
number. 938 jails across America. Thanks to Steve behind the scenes. We got to start getting a little camera to show you over there.
Got one.
Oh, excusez-moi. So,
there he is.
fancy.
Nice.
So, Steve behind the scenes. We have great partnerships with. There you go, Steve. Woo. So this goes into a lot of jails. So we get humans from all over the world that come to McShin to our housing that have seen us on their tablets in jail. So that's really awesome. So I am in recovery for a while now, and I get to have the opportunity to be the CEO of the McShin Foundation. So today we just had a huge International Women's Day event downstairs, and two of our guests that started the event 4 years ago are getting ready to hit the road, hit the airplane. I guess, what is that thing called? The runway. So we wanted to throw them up here on the podcast. So I will introduce them, and then we're just going to kind of chat. So Caroline Beidler here is an author, an amazing woman, just very, very smart, intelligent, and soft-spoken, that she gives me this energy of like, woo, like natural high, like just calmness. So I appreciate that in you. And then we have Meghann Perry that did an awesome storytelling workshop for our team here at McShin yesterday. They loved it, just so you know. It was definitely the games for sure. That is something that's really cool. You got to be able to have fun with your team. So we definitely, and then even me talking downstairs at the event just now is like, should I have said it like that? So you're helping me, even though I have a lot of years in recovery and been doing this advocacy stuff too for a while. It's really like got me to think about how I share my story and talk. So we're just going to chat about International Women's Day and what that means to us, and then have an open conversation of what you guys are doing in the world. For me, International Women's Day is amazing. We just had a big event. It was probably about 125 people downstairs, all women celebrating, recovery, but also just being a woman in this space and just providing a safe space with awesome speakers from around the world. And then we had 8 local speakers. So check that out. More coming soon. Steve here is going to whip up a video for us. But for me, being a woman in the space, it's been beautiful, but challenging and very hard, not just in the recovery space, but the nonprofit leadership space as well. And I've been able to, work through it for almost 18 years, but really surrounding myself with awesome women like you and men. I've got a ton of men mentors as well, because I wouldn't be here without them, but really having that connection with women and like what we go through, not just like in business, but our mind, body, and soul is really what I strive to do and be a mentor to others. So, I'm not going to be here forever, and I want to eventually retire and travel the world. So it's important for me to be able to mentor other women. So if y'all just want to unpack whoever, we're really some easy around here. We just have a chat conversation. So I'll start to my right, just what it means to you and a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, thank you, Honesty. It's so nice to be here. And we did have an incredible event today. So like coming off of that, and it's like, and then we can just sit and be together. 3 women in recovery is just such a beautiful thing. Well, as you mentioned, I'm an author now, and I heard a speaker today say her story was one from overdose to overcoming. And I really love that because, my experience of overdose, my experience of struggling with addiction, especially as a teen and young adult, really not knowing my place in the world, not feeling like I belonged, feeling imprisoned and trapped by feelings of self-doubt and insecurity, by trauma that I had experienced, really just in this dark place. But finding myself in recovery, Meghann, I think I heard you share that earlier, like finding myself in recovery has been just a transformational experience for me. And it's really been women in my life, especially older women who have experienced more, both professionally and personally, who have come alongside me and really mentored me into who I am today, and really being able to rediscover my passions, my purpose, like who I want to be and how I want to show up in the world. It's funny, you mentioned, I think it was before we started, that I have kind of like a calm, my voice, people tell me I have a calm, peaceful presence that brings them, it makes them feel calm, which is so interesting because for so much of my life, I felt chaotic and out of control. And so to be able to show up in a space and bring that and share that with people, like I'm so touched. Like, I feel like, God has done so much in my life, and I'm just grateful to be able to show up today. So I want to share a little more about, what I bring to recovery, but being a part of this community of women is so special. So I want to hear from Meghann before I talk anymore.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Honesty. I'm super excited to be here and honored to be at McShin specifically. But first, I just want to give like a big special shout out to all of my friends that are inside. I have spent my own time inside, and it's been 14 years since my last jail cell. And for a little shot of hope, I got my record expunged 3 years ago.
Awesome. Nice.
And so for me, that's a big part. It was a big part of it's a big part of who I've been as someone who was incarcerated and involved in the criminal justice system. And yet it is now today such a small part of who I am because I've grown around it, right? I've grown to be so much more. And for me, with International Women's Day and thinking about women's recovery, I spent most of my life wishing that I had been born a man. I felt like boys and men got it so much easier and better. And I identified with the things that interested boys more, and I felt more comfortable around men. And it wasn't until I really got involved in a women's recovery community that I started to say, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And I learned to appreciate the parts of myself that are the feminine. And today I am so stoked to be a woman.
Yeah.
and I'm happy in my body, which I understand in some ways is a privilege, right? For some, it's not that simple. But it is women in recovery loving me, and showing me how powerful we can be together and just as women. And and men are amazing and incredible as well. But I do think that we need to have our spaces and our ways of honoring being women as well. So it's really important to me to do this work and to think about International Women's Day today. Oh, and I didn't say, and so what I do, I always forget to say what I do. And it's important to me to say that because I help people tell their stories. I help people find a way to share about those really hard things, the things that we have stigma and shame about in our society. It can be hard to find your voice for that. And we're taught not to talk about those things. And I have made it my life's work to help people talk about those things and to empower voices and voices with dignity and with ownership of our stories. And we get to tell them, and we get to choose who we tell them to and when we tell them, and like who gets the honor of hearing our stories, because it shouldn't be everybody. We get to choose that. And so I love coaching people with their writing projects, with their storytelling, in their advocacy work, because it is just so important. Like we're celebrating today is the stories of people who have overcome incredible things. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I know we're all in recovery, obviously. But what else, like, I guess, what else for both of you? Why do you do what you do? Like, I know we're in recovery, and, if you don't know, I went through McShin. McShin helped to save my life along with myself and every other person and every person in my path. In the beginning, I was 26 when I came here, and I was young, but I had already lived a life for like 10 different people, because in my household I had to grow up very quickly, and then my addiction took over as a teenager. So, for me, I do what I do because, I mean, I guess it's changed honestly throughout the years. In the beginning, it was like peer to peer. What was that really about? Back then it wasn't as big of a movement as it is now. And then when anonymous people came out, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But it was like more of giving back to women, because there was no female staff when I lived here. And it was more of, I didn't know what I was doing. I was 5 months in recovery when I started working here, so I had no idea what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. I was just trying not to use and like figuring out my life, and got my daughter back, and that was in itself so hard. And then throughout the years of my career, that I know that I have to mentor other women in this space and be a leader and be an imperfect one. I think that is something that I have had challenges with throughout my career. Is I'm on this level of I'm supposed to, like, those two words really annoy the crap out of me. Like, I'm supposed to be not cuss in public. And I did it. And as I sat down earlier, I was getting ready to say the F word. And I was like, oh, I forgot Steve. I'm the CEO, and it's like, Steve is recording me, which I know he probably, but it's like, but that's who I am. Sometimes I slip and say cuss words, so it's like just little things like that is like really trying to remain myself. And like what you taught us yesterday is like really own the human being that I am and want to be. And y'all both inspired the heck out of me. So me and her talk downstairs. So I'm going to start a side hustle, and I've officially said it out loud to whoever's watching this. And I have been just talking to my husband about it for years. So now, whoa, that was weird. That was really tingly. Okay. Because it's like, now I am going to even do it because I'm holding myself accountable. But yeah, just talk a little bit about like, what the future you think is. I know the world is kind of a little woo right now. But really like why you do what you do, and what would you like to see the future, not just in the women movement, but the recovery movement, just safe space movement. If you want to unpack that just a little, if you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. First, and there's a lot of questions in that question. First, honestly, I have to ask, you didn't elaborate though on what your side hustle is going to be.
Oh, well, and I want
Or are you not ready?
No. I want to help other people around the world that's not just in the SUD addiction space. So I want to keep people accountable for their lives and how awesome their lives can turn out by being accountable, being organized, and doing their thing, and really learning how to love themselves in the career or the path wherever they're at. So that's what I'm looking to do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be great at it. I've already do it, but it's like I want to do it on a bigger scale than what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Well, I'm like clapping, snapping, all the things. I'm so excited for you. And that's one thing that recovery has taught me. It's like, we can think bigger. We can dream bigger. And it took me like over a decade in recovery until I had the confidence and really the boldness to step into that. And I still struggle with it sometimes. I struggle with imposter syndrome and I'm not good enough. And, just because we hit a certain point in our substance use disorder recovery does not mean that all of the other life stuff or troubles go away. We have new tools to cope with those things when they do come. But, for me, you kind of ask why I do what I do. And to my mind, whenever somebody asks me that question, I have a line in my mind. It's like a photo album of people's faces and people's faces like Alex and Amanda and Kayla and my sweet friend Elise, who I lost a couple weeks ago to overdose. So they're women that I have been connected with and who I have mentored, who I've lost. And I also think about the women who are walking recovery journeys today. I think about a whole host of friends, and that album, that photo album just keeps flipping, and your pictures on it and Megan's pictures on it. And I just keep doing what I'm doing because I have to, because I feel like there's this drive inside of me. It's almost like a fire that I have to give back. I have to be of service. I have to keep using my voice. For so long, I was in that dark place when I didn't have an opportunity or think I had a voice to share. And so I just feel this drive to keep sharing stories of recovery and opening spaces like International Women's Day, where we can talk as women. You know, I was telling a friend, like, the reason I started it and called Meghann, and we were like, what are we doing? I don't know, but we'll do this thing together and see what happens. And here we are. But you know, the reason I started it with Meghann was because in 2020, I had a crisis moment in my recovery. You know, the world was kind of falling apart, and it was like one of those moments in time, you know, where you come to the fork in the road. And I knew I could either go back, I could go backwards, or I could go in a different direction. But I knew in order to keep going in the direction I wanted to go, to keep dreaming bigger, acting bigger, living bigger, walking in my purpose, I needed to hear other women's stories to do that. I needed to hear my story being shared and reflected. I needed to be invited into places where I could talk about what my struggles were, specifically related to being a woman. So you asked some really big questions, and I think it's so important to think about. I mean, and however you're listening to this, whether it's inside, whether it is outside, whether it's inside quote unquote recovery spaces, or however you're listening and showing up to this, I mean, I just want to encourage people that you can find your purpose. Sometimes it takes a minute, but we need to be open to it. And for me, it's taken connecting with other women and other people.
Yeah, that's really inspiring to listen to both of you. It gets me excited about possibilities. And, you know, I think a lot about leadership and belonging. And, you know, I do what I do because these are the things that helped me. And, you know, I did advocacy for years without knowing how to do advocacy, you know, and sharing my story without really knowing how to share my story, and, you know, doing the things and then figuring it out and learning from others, and, you know, being a sponge of just, you know, please show me the way and teach me, and learning and you know, looking to people that I admire and respect to help guide me. And I think, you know, today I'm a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a business, and I'm a leader. And those are definitely not things that I thought I would ever be. And it's, you know, when I look at others, I see leadership in them, and I see leadership in people who we might not name as leaders or traditionally see as leaders. And when you talk about the recovery movement and where we might be headed, I am so passionate that what we need to see in the recovery movement is a much more inclusive tent and a much more inclusive recovery movement, and offering belonging to a much broader range of people. And we think perhaps that leaders in recovery have to have a certain kind of recovery, and it has to be for a length of time. And, you know, we kind of have these hierarchies in our recovery movement. And when I look at people who are currently using substances, I see the leader in them. I see the potential and the beauty and the incredible people that they are. And I think that one of the things that we aren't as good at in the recovery movement is really bringing in people who are not abstinence-based or not seeking an abstinence-based pathway or don't know what they're seeking yet. And I think that we often dismiss people who use substances as, you know, incapable of knowing what's best for them, or making good decisions, or of taking care of themselves in any way. And what we do is we rob them of any power that they do have. And at the end of the day, it's their own leadership and their own advocacy that's essential to them making the changes that they want. And so I think about myself and 2 decades that I struggled with with chaotic substance use and untreated mental health challenges. And I had so much that I brought to the table. I had so much. I had wisdom. I had experience. I had strength. I had knowledge. I had abilities and skills and talents and gifts and passion. But nobody could see it, including me. But if we as a movement can stop and say, I see the leader in you. I see the wisdom that you bring to the table. I see the potential, and not just the potential, but I see who you are right exactly in this moment, no matter how chaotic your substance use is, no matter what you have going on. I see you as a leader, and we need you, and we want you, and you belong here. And I think that we do that with storytelling. We do that through the way that we share of ourselves, and the way that we invite the stories of all people anywhere on that spectrum of substance use, because we all can belong here. And that is what honestly gets me out of bed every morning. And that's what drives me, is that list of names that I have. And there's so many of them who didn't feel like they belonged or couldn't find a place that they belonged. And had we seen the leader in them and seen the amazing, incredible, beautiful, strong, and wonderful person they were, even in that moment, then they may have become part of our movement instead of us losing them.
Can I just jump in quick too?
Want. We don't care.
I just resonate so much with that, Meghann, and I think that we need to start loving people before they meet some type of expectation that we have for them. We need to start loving people where they are in that unconditional way. And I agree. I mean, if different points in my struggle, if someone have shown up to me in that way, that unconditional, I'm holding my hand out to you wherever you are, and I see the leader in you before you've entered recovery, before you've, transitioned back into the community. Like, if I could have had that, who knows? But I agree. I think as a movement, it's time that we start showing more grace and showing that unconditional love, because that's where that real transformation is going to happen collectively.
Yeah. And I feel all of that for sure, because I've been doing this a while, and the recovery movement has changed significantly throughout all the years. I didn't know what I was doing either. I was going to the General Assembly with John and Carol and like advocating, and I'm like, shaking and sweating. And like, now I do it in my sleep. It's like, it's a lot easier. But so what is next? I know you guys have to hit the road. So what is next for you and your future? I know you're writing another book, or is it almost done? So tell us about that, and tell us how to reach both of you. But what is next for you in your life and your path?
Yeah, so exciting. I do have another book coming out. My first book, Downstairs Church, I highly recommend. So it's all about bringing what happens in recovery spaces into the light and highlighting different pathways. But my next book is for affected family members. So if you love someone in recovery, or if you want someone to understand what recovery even means, or just the different types from what the science of recovery shares, not just the science of addiction, but the science of recovery, all the way through different things about sharing stories. There's just a lot of both evidence-based information and stories from affected family members themselves. We're also dreaming big in terms of what's next with the International Women's Day event, because every year we have people come to us after the event, super excited, ready for something else, ready to keep connecting. So we want to do that. We're going to be having regular offerings. We are going to be doing a lot of really exciting things. And so more on that, but you can find me on my website, CarolineBeidler.com. It is EI, so BEIDLER, in the show notes, I'm sure. Thank you. So you can find me online, but I would love to connect. And I always, all right, Steve, thank you. But I always also offer my books 100% accessible. So if cost is an issue for whatever reason, email me and I will send you a free copy gladly.
Okay. It's EI, right?
Mhm.
EI.
Yeah.
Steve's getting
E-I-E-I-O. You know, like the song, not
Yes.
bye, bye, bye. It's
That's the way to
EI.
remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
E-I-E-I-O. I haven't said that in years since my son was little.
Oh, there it is.
And we're getting, well, I'm gonna get some of those books for family members around
Oh,
here.
I'd
Soon.
love
So
that.
thank you for putting that out into the world.
Mm.
What about you?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I highly recommend your, Caroline's most recent book, You Are Not Your Trauma. It really had an impact on me. And I want to speak just sort of like as another person on this healing journey, because it's easy to kind of be like, oh, leader, entrepreneur, businesswoman doing this. But like, I want to speak just as a human being on a healing journey that I haven't done any trauma work in a minute. And I have come back to it. I read Caroline's book, and that in parts inspired me. So I'm doing some non-traditional trauma healing, some different ways of working in my body with trauma, and I'm really excited about that. So that's what I'm doing for myself personally. Is like, let's go, let's heal some more of this stuff. I'm going to continue. I'm so fortunate I get to travel around the world. I went to Portugal last year and presented about storytelling, and I'm going to Bogota, Colombia next month for the Harm Reduction International conference. But I'm going to keep helping people tell their stories. We have recovery storytelling workshops. We train teams in storytelling. I want to invite everybody to we have a free story gathering every other Sunday afternoon on Zoom from 3 to 5 Eastern time. Anybody can come, be in community with others on healing journeys, share stories, listen to stories. If you like the craft or the art form, you want to learn how to tell your story better, we have professional story coaches on that. So please come to that. And you can get there. You can find me on Eventbrite or on my website. The website's just meghannperry.com.
MEGHANNPERRY.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
You're good at letters.
Yeah.
Honesty. Good
I'm
at
just
letters.
I'm being his assistant over here.
Yes, you can
All
find me at Meghann@MegHannPerry.com. You can find me at MegHannPerry.com. I couldn't think of a better name, so the business is just Meghann Perry Group. But but yeah, I'm gonna keep telling those stories and helping other people do the same.
Awesome. Well, this is a whole journey for the past couple of days has been beautiful. I'm so happy you guys came into my life and McShin's life, but especially mine. Like, I know this relationship will continue forever, and y'all have inspired the heck out of me. I needed a push, and I believe that, my spirit and God and everything brings people in my life for a reason. So, and the value you've brought to our organization from yesterday with our team rolling around on the floor, like I was this close of kicking the new woman I just hired in her head. I was like, whoa. And then just seeing everybody move and and really listening to one another, because this is a fast-paced environment, right, Steve?
It is that.
Every day. It's a little something different every day, but kind of the same, but a little something different every day in this building. So thank you both for your time and energy and for including me and McShin and International Women's Day all these years. I really appreciate you for that. And I'm excited for the future for the both of you. So
all three of us.
Yeah. All three of us. Yeah. And Steve.
And Steve. Yeah,
Steve. There. Fine, Steve.
Yes.
You can be included. But thank you all for your time, and just stay safe out there, and safe travels to you.
Thank you, Honesty.
Bye.
Thank you for being with us.
Bye. I don't know where to look. Woo.
Anywhere you want.
All right.